Did you need a wizard build that's incredible for CC and maintaining AoE damage, as well as high single target damage, and even some additional optional RP elements thrown in to maximize your playthrough? Then I got the wizard build guide for you. What's up, World Trader? Back in the video and we're checking out all things Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, so for the build itself, there will be tiny variances from early access to launch, and I'll have those discrepancies down below and kind of explain them to you in this video, as well as kind of talk about them in the comments if need be. We're also going to come through here, and some of this stuff is definitely interchangeable for you. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to select is 100% swappable out. We're going to come here, I'm going to select Sage. I like these. Again, these aren't going to matter. Also, what's not going to matter is this, either whatever you select, human, tiefling, elf. You can pick any of these. You're going to get 2 points here and +1s. Again, you can pick any one of these and they're not going to attribute to anything anymore. Like halfling gave you +2 dexterity. That's not going to be a thing anymore. You're just going to be able to select what you want. We're going to go in here. I'm going to take Deep Gnome. That's what I like. Obviously, we're going to come down to Wizard. We're going to go through our cantrips really quickly. Now, my 3 go-tos right here, and I'll explain why, are probably going to be Chill Touch, because I am going to go Necromancy subclass, and I think that Necromancy is going to be pretty good early on. If you don't want to go Necromancy early on, then I would probably skip the Necrotic ability, although Chill Touch is pretty easy to get. Same with the other one too, which is Ray of Frost, which I would swap out for if you want to have the movement speed. This is really, really good early on as well. You could take the Ray of Frost. I'm going to try to experiment with Chill Touch though, so that would be the swap out that I would take there. Next up, Shocking Grasp. I think this is a kind of a no-brainer. Shocking Grasp is really, really good early on when there is enemies in melee range. You can easily kind of give yourself a nice for taking a reaction or getting away. It definitely helps. Now, there are a few abilities that I'll showcase at the end of the level 1 segment where you can get the scrolls early on, like Firebolt. So we don't need to take this one because there's actually a scroll location literally right where you start, and hopefully it'll be the same on launch. I'm assuming it will. So the scroll is going to be right there in that location, so we won't have to take this. This last one here, I'm taking Friends, and the reason why is it kind of has that RP element to it. Everything else really here isn't very enticing, or just most of the stuff you can get very easy in a scroll. I've noticed that Minor Illusion, unless you go maybe the Illusion subclass, I really wouldn't take it. Poison Ray also isn't very good. It has a 3-meter radius, and you really don't want to be in melee range. There's a lot of stuff here that just isn't really that good. We might look at like Acid Splash later on, but we don't really need it for now. Okay, moving on to our 6 main spells here. We're going to be taking Grease. Grease you can get in a certain location, but we're not going to risk it because we just want it early on. This is our AoE CC ability. This is going to provide excellent CC, as well as being able to light it on fire with Firebolt if we do swap that out. We also are going to take Magic Missile. Magic Missile is very, very, very strong early on, and it's very strong even into the later game as well. It's a decent ability evocation spell, so we're not using anything crazy. This is our single target ability. Next up, we have our single target CC. Now, we will eventually get Hideous Laughter as well. The reason why we take Sleep early on is because you're probably not going to encounter a lot of enemies early on that have a higher intelligence, so we're going to take that early on CC. Next up, Featherfall. The reason why I'm taking Featherfall is because we don't get a scroll for it early on. It's really, really good as like kind of like that party spell that makes everybody immune. Great utility spell. Very, very nice for utility. Next up, I'm taking Find Familiar. Now, I've seen a little bit of concerns with Find Familiar, saying that the imp that gets spawned, or we don't get an imp, but we get other animals of the sort, don't really have a lot of health. What I've noticed is that, at least on the normal difficulty, they don't actually attack your Find Familiar very often. They actually end up attacking you. So even though it only has 8 HP, I've noticed that the Find Familiar actually can do some work and some damage, and even some CC, which we also will have with this one. And so I would definitely take Find Familiar, since we can't really find it in a scroll. And then another RP element here is Disguise Self. Everything else we can find in scrolls like Chromatic Orb. Again, I'm going to showcase that at the end of this little level 1 segment here. And a bunch of other stuff is just not really utilized. I don't really find Fog Cloud that useful. Jump and Long Strider I don't find to be crazy useful. In fact, there's an NPC that can give it to you. And yeah, if you take certain people on your party, there's other things in here that we probably could take, but we're not going to do it for now. I just don't find very useful. For our prepared spell list, we are going to take these 4. We're going to swap out Featherfall there though, and we're going to take Find Familiar. We'll take these 4. We have our AoE CC, we have our single target, our single target CC, and then our imp summoning, and then we have these 2 on backup if we want to do some RP stuff or give us down to a location where we can Featherfall into. Now, skills, these don't really matter. You can move on or copy what I do if you want. When we come here, this is perfect. This is exactly what we want. 8 strength, 14 dex, 14 constitution, 17 intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 12 charisma. You could swap out some dexterity if you didn't want the dex and put it into wisdom, so we could do only 12 here and then 12 into wisdom. Wisdom is nice for, again, yeah, spell casting, but it's mostly for clerics and druids of the sort. In fact, we'll keep it that for now. So more than likely, we'll do 12 dex and then 12 wisdom, and then 12 charisma. Probably shouldn't do an odd number though, so this is probably going to be more optimal to do 12 and 12.
Now, I'm going to go to some scroll locations that you can get right off level 1. This is where you start, and hopefully everything like this will be the same once the patch starts. I also do want to credit a YouTuber. I'm going to have him down below. And he is a really small YouTuber, so I do want to make sure that I credit him. It's Casual Veteran Gamer, but I'm going to have links to everything down below. If you want to check out his guide too, it's actually really useful, and I learned all the spell stuff from him, or where to find these spell scrolls, but we're just going to come up this way really easily, and you can also compare and contrast our builds. We'll go up here, and we're going to jump again here, and then just in this body, we're going to loot character, and you'll see that we have Scroll of Mage Armor. That's why we didn't need to take it. So no big deal. Now, if you do take some damage or fire damage here, or even damage here, you'll probably take 1, I think it is. Oh, somehow we didn't take any damage there. Normally you do, but there's a restoration thing right there. We can easily hit that and get the health. Moving on up here, again, a very easy location to get to. We're going to come here, get to this scroll, and it's going to be Scroll of Firebolt. Again, that's why we don't want to take it. We're going to head right up here. Super simple spot. And we're going to head over to this chest here. And sometimes there will be a scroll in here, sometimes there won't be. No scroll, but we do get a ton of gold, which we can use to actually learn those spells if we want to. Especially Mage Armor. It's probably going to be one that you're going to want to use. We'll go ahead and use that right away so that we can have Mage Armor, because we're more than likely going to be using that quite a bit. Jumping back here really quickly, I did loot the scrolls here, but when you come into the room, when you meet Shadowheart, which will be like right over here, when you come down here into this little section, you'll be able to grab scrolls right here on this little table here in this little section. It's going to be the False Life spell and the Chromatic Orb, so that way you won't need to waste or use those on the level up there. Okay, so now that we're level 2, we get to select our subclass. However, we don't have all the subclasses here unlocked. I have a little sheet up above here so you can see all the subclasses, and I'll kind of have some information down below for the different subclasses. There are a few of them. Evocation is pretty good, but I think it's gonna fall off when release comes. Same with Abjuration. Abjuration is also really good, but I do think that the other subclasses will be a little bit more fun. We're probably gonna end up going to Necromancy, as you saw that I took that Necromancy spell at the beginning, so I'm gonna go Necromancy. I will have a link to both of these build guides down below, as this one also doesn't have all the subclasses in here, but this one does. And so you could see kind of through here. I'll probably do a subclass overview in another guide or another video, but there's a bunch here. There's Divination, there's Illusion, there's Transmutation. We're going to go ahead and go with Necromancy. And so far from what I gathered in one of the recent videos, this does work as it will. So you can have basically a Necromancy or a zombie army with you, and so you'll have those things with you. I don't know if this heal thing is going to be true too. This might also work, that you reap life energy from creatures that you down with your spells. Not sure if that's going to work as it will, but I do know that you will be able to raise an army, and I think that's going to be pretty cool for Wizard, so we will go Necromancy. But yeah, moving back into here, we'll go to our spells and our spell choices. Now, we're probably not going to take any of those, but we will more than likely, after we got the Mage Armor, we'll go ahead and take the Tasha's Hideous Laughter, because we do need that out of the way. We don't have that spell yet. We also already have False Life from the scroll earlier, so we don't need that again. We can go into something like Charm Person, or even into Thunderwave. You could even grab here, because Thunderwave doesn't have a scroll early on. Thunderwave's pretty good. I might grab Charm Person, as I'm probably not going to use anything else in here. Long Strider, this stuff. We have a teleport. We really don't need this. Definitely don't need Witch Bolt. We can get that pretty early on. Don't need the retreats. Not very good. All this other stuff is just not that good. We already have Mage Armor from the scroll, so more than likely going to grab Charm Person here, so that way you have some more CC stuff. Otherwise, you can go ahead and grab Thunderwave. Now, our prepared spells, we'll probably grab that off. Either go Charm Person or Hideous Laughter here. That way we have this. Pretty good spells so far, and we have our damage abilities and a bunch of CC, which is more than likely going to be useful on Wizard no matter what. Now, moving up into level 3 here, we're going to get some actual good damage spells. We have a ton of CC stuff, other things, so let's grab our damage out, and we're going to get another AoE damage. Now, this is a controversial choice. You could go with something else if you want. I'll show a few other choices, but I'm going to take Cloud of Daggers. This does a ton of damage. The problem that is that as a concentration spell, meaning that you can only use the one concentration spell at a time. There are a few other options here. Most of these, like I said, are concentration already, so it's kind of hard to go through. We're going to get Misty Touch later from a spell, or from a scroll rather. A lot of these are concentration. I'm not really a fan of anything else, so we're going to go ahead and go with Cloud of Daggers. If you wanted to take another AoE spell, there really isn't much choice. All of them also take concentration, besides maybe Shatter. You could take Shatter if you wanted to instead. What we'll go ahead and take is the Scorching Ray. This is going to be really two massive spells here. Good AoE damage, incredible single target damage. I love this on my Warlock class. I wish I would have taken this through my first playthrough. This was a really good damage ability, and yeah, it's definitely going to be useful for single target and spread out damage as well. Our prepared spells will come out here, and we will get rid of possibly Tasha's Laughter for now, seeing as we're probably not going to encounter too many mobs that have that type of high check yet. We're going to go Clouded Daggers and Scorching Ray, so then we have our 2 new abilities with everything else in our 2 CCs. Moving on to level 4 here for our cantrips, I'm more than likely going to go Acid Splash. I remember maybe Acid and Poison damage might or might not be on the same damage modifier. I'm not 100% sure. I thought it was working with the gear that I had. I had this gear that did extra poison damage, or when you did poison damage it occurred. I do believe they're on the same check here, as it was double rolling dice, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's not differently. So if you wanted to, you could go Ray of Frost here, though you probably will get a scroll for Ray of Frost. You could also go Minor Illusion if you wanted to, or maybe even Magic Hand. Remember, we already have Firebolt. Not a lot of decisions here. I am going to go Acid Splash. It's a nice little AoE single target damage that doesn't require anything, or you can cast it basically infinitely. So even if we don't get that armor check, or the armor doesn't work with it, then we're still going to take it. Moving on to, again, our level 2 spells. There are a few different choices you could have here. You could definitely go into Sleep. You could go into Enlarge and Reduce, but that's our concentration spell, so we probably don't want to take that. It's going to end that. We also probably don't want to take Misty Step just yet. We're probably going to get a scroll for it, and most of this stuff unfortunately requires concentration. Now there are a few options here. I'm going to go, because I'm going Necromancy anyways, I'm going to take Blindness. This doesn't require anything with concentration, so we're going to take it anyways. I think it's a little bit better than Crown of Madness, like I said in my last video. Requires concentration. This is, I guess, okay for certain scenarios, but it's too scenario based for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and take Blindness instead. We also could look into Ray of Enfeeblement for like single target kind of help. That could definitely help out. We could also take Shatter here. Shatter's a nice AoE ability. This is gonna be a nice good damage here with Shatter. It also kind of creates a ring, and it doesn't require any concentration here. I'm probably gonna go with Detect Thoughts just for some RP stuff. I don't necessarily need more AoE damage, but if you did want to min-max here with AoE damage, I would take Shatter. You could go Magic Weapon. I wasn't really a fan of it and didn't really like it. And then there is also Mirror Image here. Mirror Image is not too bad for kind of damage mitigation. Well, we have a ton of CC already. So I'm going to go ahead and take Detect Thoughts. This is kind of like a up in the air one. Again, more so I'd probably go Shatter, or even, you know, maybe not Web, or maybe even Flaming Spear. Kind of concentration. Everything requires concentration. So I'd either go Shatter or Detect Thoughts. I'm going to go Detect Thoughts for kind of RP stuff, and you kind of see, I might not even really use it, but I'll probably use it more so than Shatter. Now for our prepared spells, we'll come in here and probably just take Blindness for now, or it is a level 2 spell, so maybe we'll take Tasha's Laughter instead. We could pop that in there, but for now I'll probably just use Blindness just in case. Keep it there in case I really need to kind of take down a mob. And moving on to level 5, finally our last level. Now you might think level 5, but it is actually pretty far into the game, and this is what we have to experiment with anyway. So if anybody's making a build guide later than this, they haven't played it and don't know it. So I'm going off of base of what I played and kind of experimented with. Now Fireball is a really hard choice not to take here. It's super strong, so I'm probably going to take it. Or I might take this Animate one for the Necromancy. Feign is not very good even for Necromancy. A lot of stuff here. We get a scroll for Glyph of Warding pretty early on, so I wouldn't take that. You can definitely get scrolls there for that, and we will use it eventually, but we just don't need it right now. Fireball is just really strong. It does a lot of damage right off the bat, so I would definitely take it. And then Counterspell. I found this spell to be actually incredible, and I've used it way more often than I thought. In fact, when I first took it, I was finding myself using it quite often in my encounters. So I would take Counterspell. If anything, maybe I get rid of it for now, since it won't be ton useful at the very beginning. However, it is pretty useful, and maybe I'll take the Animate one instead of Counterspell, but for now I'm probably going to take it, and I would recommend to take it with any other build. This is good. A lot of other stuff like Fly, we're going to have Misty Step. We're going to get a scroll for that anyways, and we don't really need to take that here, so I would just skip out. There's some other stuff here you could look at, but most of the part, you're going to want Fireball, and you're probably going to want Counterspell, as they're really good. And then for our known spells we have here, we have the rest here with our 2 spells here, just adding those in. And so now we have the prepared spells here, which is 9, quite a lot. Go ahead and accept. And you can see here, we do have these scrolls here that we did collect in that level 1 area I showed you. So we don't have to take Mage Armor, we don't have to take Firebolt, we don't have to take Chromatic Orb or False Life. These are easily found, and I showcased those earlier to you. Okay, so jumping on my main here, you'll notice a few different abilities, but nothing crazy. We have the Glyph of Warding, of course, which is really good. I I know I got the scroll for that. I ended up purchasing it or had it. I have a ton here that I still haven't purchased or gone through, even though I have the gold for it, but I just haven't gone around to get to it. There's some stuff here that we could take. I think we already have sleep, or maybe I didn't take. Oh yeah, we do have sleep. Again, I got that hypnotic pattern. I'm going to show you where I found that level 3 scroll. There is a few other locations, but I haven't finished out the Underdark yet. I'm still working on here and probably going to work on this more today. This is basically as far as I've gotten so far. This is my 21-hour save. However, there is a spot that we can go to. I believe it's this one. Yep. Right over here. So right from the spot that we spawn in, right over here. And yeah, the chest is still here. That's kind of cool. But basically, you need a shovel. Find it. But yeah, I had a shovel on one of my here. There it is. So yeah, you need a shovel for this. Basically, you can dig here. There's a perception check. However, you don't need to pass it. In fact, my character didn't even pass. You just go up and dig up the chest here. Nothing in here, but that's what you'll get the scroll from, is in this chest here. And there are a few other spots in the Underdark, but I haven't got to. I'll link down to that casual veteran gamer, his video, because it does actually showcase some really cool scroll spots. There's 2 additional ones in the Underdark. I just didn't get to it yet. It's taken me a little bit longer than I wanted to. However, maybe I could showcase that near release, and maybe I'll get closer to that. But I do want to showcase the gear really, really quickly, as we do have some cool stuff here with the acid splash stuff. So as you see here, we have this chest piece, Poisoner's Robe. Can't remember quite where I got this. I'll look it up to see if I can find like a location on the wiki and post it down below. But when the wearer casts a spell that deals poison damage, it deals in addition 1d4 poison. It's not that much, but for a spell that costs nothing, and once you hit level 5, this does double for its dice roll. It actually isn't that bad. So you'll hit for like, you know, maybe 6 or 7 on this, and then you'll also hit for another 4. It can be pretty good, and it adds up on damage, especially for AoE stuff, and I do really like that. So there is some stuff there. There's like some electric wizard ability, the Witch Bolt, which I actually found a scroll for. But the Witch Bolt, this will allow you to kind of do damage if the enemies are essentially electrified, and you can get gear that essentially will electrify you right here. When the wearer stands in water during combat, it becomes electrified. So you can even use, you know, Shadow Heart to cast water. You can essentially create water around, and then the area will be electrified by those boots, which is pretty cool. A little cool mechanic to kind of play around with there. That could be kind of cool for us, doing some electric damage with that. So it might play out better with some stuff. You know, we are limited to level 5, and I can only do so much testing in these last few days, especially just getting the game and kind of going through. So this is kind of my play style, or my build overall. I do think it's actually really good. It was really fun to play as, other than the few small changes that I made. Some abilities that I regret not taking, some AoE stuff, and some single target stuff that I really do think is going to help out with damage, as well as that Find Familiar that's going to provide that nice CC. That's about cover for the build guide. I hope I help with everything with Wizard, and I will cover more and do more as I level and as I play the game. I'll hopefully have a higher level guide a couple of days into release, if not a day or 2. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd like to like and subscribe, and until the next one, doses.